Lads, welcome to PerformX. And ahead of your exhibition in a few weeks' time, do you want to just give us a bit of a lowdown on Flexhealth and what you do?
Absolutely. Do you want to take it away?
Why not?
Go on then, you start.
Yeah, so we're physiotherapists first and foremost, based in Hull, but more recently we've kind of launched a brand new product that's taken us online. It's our own product, so absolutely first time at PerformX this year. Very much looking forward to it, to kind of represent physiotherapy at a fitness expo, really.
Absolutely. Took a lot of inspiration from the health and fitness industry, mainly due to you look at the online coaching, online PT space. Physiotherapy in general has a lot to learn and should collaborate a lot more closely with S&C. We were very fortunate with our background. You know, we worked in the Premier League, a very good area, albeit Hull, not the best team in the world, but it was at a time when they invested very heavily on the pitch and in the backroom staff. So we got exposed to a lot of S&C, a lot of sports medicine approach to physio. It's not just clamshells, glute bridges, and all that sort of stuff. And then bespoke again to the online space. You know, the objective side and the actual hands-on stuff is a small part of physio and the rehab, and there's lots of things you can not only diagnose through just talking to someone, or at least have a good idea of how to manage that through talking. It's all about drip feeding in the progressive rehab and the physio and
changing that narrative into it around the physiotherapy world, that it's still very much associated with conventional kind of, you go see somebody, and it's kind of changing that like mindset, and that's going to take some time. There's quite a few of us now starting to do it, but still very much in its infancy, kind of online physio. So essentially we're out here trying to pioneer that kind of space, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
Too honest.
Own product.
Yeah.
It's one of a kind sort of thing. Lends itself to what we want it to do very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken offline about the likes of Go Perform and Move HQ out my way, and I think I'm a big believer in. I think my personal perspective of physio has changed since working with those kind of places.
Yeah.
It's not just a case of being treated on a bed and then get on with it. It's like your programming is.
And I think
tailored.
Maybe one of the reasons for that is because, don't get me wrong, football is a great platform. So for the guys that Dan and the team at Go Perform, for example, and us, had that shared experience in professional sport, and then I think for one reason or another, we kind of you have to move past what pro sport can give you. There are limitations as a physio, unfortunately, and then I think they've then looked at, like as we did, that kind of physiotherapy commercial space and thought, right, why is nobody actually doing it the way that we've been doing it for all these years in pro sport? Then there's a handful of us which have then tried to replicate that model up and down the country. So the likes of us, there's another couple of guys in Liverpool.
RP4.
Yeah.
Clinic.
Again, Go Perform. And a few others that are kind of... And then I think it's that sort of happened when we set up, probably, back in 2016. And then I think the same thing's happening now, which is we're looking at other industries and kind of going, well, hang on a minute. The PT industry is worth so much money and pioneering that space so much, like why aren't we kind of doing that as well? So yeah,
absolutely.
And looking at that kind of online journey for someone who's never done, I guess, digital physiotherapy, what does that process look like from start to finish compared to your typical in person?
It's quite similar in essence. You have an initial consultation. We call them discovery calls, our American term, but people seem to like it. And within that, we just answer any concerns or questions that you have about the process of online physio. But in essence, you schedule an initial assessment. We go through a subjective evaluation, which is just me fact-finding about what happened. So you've played football and you've gone over on your ankle. So we ask, did you go over this way, that way? What was the management strategy like afterwards? Did you have to come off the field? We just dive into general subjective questions. And a lot of people feel that you have to rush to the objective side. I need to feel what that ankle feels like, which you don't really. You get a lot of information from that subjective. You should have 3 or 4 potential diagnoses just from speaking to someone, and that's whether it's online or face-to-face. And then again, we can use a battery of tests, so asking them to do squat patterns, a bit of a movement screen in essence, and just seeing how they can perform their movements. And again, from that, we can come up quite conclusively with a reasonable diagnosis. If we feel further advice is needed, such as a scan, we can still refer into them sort of pathways as well. So there's lots we can offer through the like for like, face-to-face versus online physio. And then as far as the management, acute management is very, very similar to say. Most physios like to admit that, but it is. If you've got a swollen ankle, the first port of call is restoring the range of motion, making it feel a bit better and reducing the pain, and getting that function back of being able to walk, put one foot in front of the other. And then it is just a step-by-step. It's a tightrope for rehab. If you don't stress the area enough, it won't respond. If you stress it too much, it breaks down. And it's just, you can guide someone through that journey from afar quite nicely. So.
Yeah, and I think one of the advantages of it that we've seen is the speed at which you can do something. So I mean, I had a call literally the other day, and I was able to diagnose somebody and start them on a very comprehensive rehab plan within probably 40 minutes. Yeah. Whereas to get all that done in a conventional setting, you probably come in for the assessment. If physios are honest with themselves, listening to this, they come in for the assessment, and then you probably then rebook that person back in a week or 2 weeks to then start to actually start the plan. Where you can do that very seamlessly.
How do you change that plan in that 2 weeks? Without seeing them? Online, you've got touch points. Someone can send me a message, that was too easy, that was too hard. Okay, within 24 hours I've tweaked it and changed it. So you have an optimal plan, an optimal aspect of loading. And we've said it time and time again, it's the closest. So working online and having that shift has been the closest I've come to the input I was able to give the Premier League footballers in that time, to non-professional athletes.
Yeah, sure.
Just because of the input, the education, the speed at which, like Matt said, you can change that session and progress it just through their feedbacks. So if they comment on a session, everything felt fine, this felt easy, happy days. That's a very good sign that we've had no reaction. Okay, let's push you on. Rather than wait 7 days, 14 days for your next consultation, you're just progressing that. So you're giving them access to optimal, sports medicine load, basically.
Absolutely.
And from the patient, it stops the postcode lottery. If you're unfortunate to not have a physio that's experienced in sports medicine or experienced in loading someone that way to get back to sport, you have access to the likes of myself and Matt, and there's other physios out there doing it very, very well online, learning from the coaching world. Brilliant.
And what are do you tend to have a lot of objections on the kind of effectiveness of it versus in person, and what are the typical conversations in that?
We've got a good review. So I've been working with a lady who is 14 weeks post ACL now. She's actually from Hull, and she's opted to go for the online virtual version. I did treat her other ACL, so she has injured both. It wasn't a re-injury, I will say that for the record. I did do a good job. And again, so she came to me for initial face-to-face, and I said, look, for my ACLs now, even that work in Hull, this is how I treat them, because this is the amount of input I can actually give you. Versus if you come see me, if you want to get the same input, you're going to have to pay £50 a session for 3 times a week, whereas the price point is a lot cheaper for the online model. You still get some objections. You still get people who need you to be there to drag them into the gym. Right. So you're still going to get a handful of people that need that assistance. And it's the same with online coaching, It's the same with PT. Some people can have the best program in the world and will still find a barrier to do it. Whereas the ones that are actually motivated, it's always easier with those patients. But the barriers are just that conception of, I need massage, I need some treatment, I need X, Y, and Z, which we maintain, we use it. I've got a history of using it. It's huge in professional sports, but it's always an adjunct, and that could be your lower back, it could be anything you've injured. Yeah. The hands-on soft tissue is always, it accompanies the rehab. It makes it a little bit more effective in that small period of time. It doesn't treat anything on its own. Right. So it's trying to get that message and that perception across that, that we hate physios, it's just a masseur, I'm coming for a rub, blah, blah, blah. But that's, for me, the biggest barrier.
Yeah, absolutely. like you said, you know, it is just that if people don't want to do something, they're not going to do it, which isn't going to change for PT. It's not going to change for physio. So that is still single-handedly the biggest barrier. And just being part, like I said earlier, just being part of that changing landscape of letting them see that this is as equal, if not more, of an effective treatment pathway for them, and not having them rely on these rather than kind of what you can tell them they can do.
No, interesting. And so obviously it's in the very early stages. You guys are sort of pioneering it. Where do you see that space going? Do you think it's obviously huge potential for it, or do you,
I mean, so we launched our the bit of the backstory was we started like the digital kind of physio journey back in 2018. So we've been at this a long time, but it wasn't up until probably about 18 months ago that we saw an opportunity to try and assist the NHS as a system first and foremost. That's where we saw our expertise headed.
Learned a lot of lessons.
Yeah.
A lot of lessons.
Very naively.
Too bright. I had 28-year-olds thinking we could single-handedly save the NHS.
And
wrong we were.
Yeah, learnt a lot. Learnt a heck of a lot. So then we kind of went back to the drawing board, you know, and we were like, right, what have we learned, you know, how can we? I think the thing that we could never get away from that was, I think one of our stories we tell is that so back in when COVID happened, like physio was an essential service, but what all physios decided to do, I mean, right from, because obviously physio in the UK is dominated by like Bupa and like other big insurance-based companies, but all of us decided to go to this model of basically, so if you were my patient, I would sit and watch you do your session. That's what we did. So like for an hour, I'd just like, right, I want you to do these exercises. I'm just going to sit here and watch you. And that is basically, so every single patient up and down the country was like, digital physio is shite. Like, because it's just like, what is this? Whereas the PT industry pivoted very quickly and was like, actually, let's use this as a golden opportunity. Let's go into actually coaching people and call them check-ins, which is just a call. Like, it's like, how are you doing? Whereas we didn't do that. So then the perception, I think that knocked us back about 20 years.
Yeah, it did.
Even before digital existed.
Didn't help the barriers, did it?
Anyway, so, but then I think what we were starting to see was as the PT space was going, there was a few like physios who were emerging on Instagram like ourselves, and they were like, you know, starting to say I can treat you online. So we were then going, well, there must be a market for it. There must be something there. So then we changed our product and we were like, right, let's do a complete pivot, which was a big decision to make because we were like, you know, this has to work first and foremost. And two, so then we took a lot of inspiration, more than happy to say, you know, the likes of True Coach, the guys at, you know, Marshawn, Gymshark, all those sorts of products. But we were, again, talking off camera around how do we take it away from the masses, which a lot of their products are focused on, but make it very one-to-one. You know, that relationship is still very much with the person.
Which is what we found out. So originally the idea was total knee replacements, total hip replacement. Here is a 12-week to 24-week management program that the 80% of the population, if you follow these steps, you will have a healthier and happier knee or recovery compared to someone who didn't follow it, for example. And again, it was relatively well received. The patients did like it, the physios liked it, but it lacked that human element to it. So the drop-off rate and the retention rate was huge. One of the feedbacks that we regularly get is because we have, I check in with my patients, even just not verbally, but just through messaging, the instant messaging on the Flexhealth app. They feel like they're getting that relationship. They know that they're not just being left. Like if they have a problem, it's getting dealt with within 72 hours the majority of the time. So the feedback that I get is they still feel like they know me. They still feel like they're building that trust, because trust is huge in any fitness health industry. If you don't trust what someone's telling you, rule 101, you're not going to adhere to it. It's just simple health psychology.
Just being on the journey, isn't it? You feel like if you're left to your own devices, you haven't got a clue what you're doing.
So that's the biggest shift we had, was just going from that model of here's a program, go do it with minimal interaction, to very individualised, very tailored.
Complete 180, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Really
Brought it away from the NHS more into what we knew, which was private practice and corporate health and wellbeing.
And what we built Flex on, which was, so again, Flex is still very much an established clinic. We've included me and Alex as physios. We've got 14 full-time.
Nice. Therapy staff.
See 450 patients a week.
Up to 450, yeah.
But the model that we've always had is very, very patient-focused, make people feel welcome. It's very much about those relationships that we establish, and that's what we built the brand on. So it was like, how do we kind of pull back to that and just do it online, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, you raise a good point, because we're still using the app with our face-to-face patients because it's a nice extra additional to have, because it still allows us to do everything that we've said. And you check in, if you're from Hull, it doesn't matter to me if you come on a face-to-face or a face-to-face or a digital appointment. I prefer digital because I've got lots of other stuff to do, and I can get it done a little bit quicker. But for someone who still likes them touch points of having face-to-face contact, and is again another a great sort of selling point of the app, and we are looking after our sort of in-house beta testing to offer this to other physios so they can start using it.
Nice.
It gives your private practice that extra edge as well, and it gives you that direct, without giving you WhatsApp number to someone. You can contact me in a safe, secure, cyber secure way, where all your records are safe, all your communications are safe, and you're not giving your personal details to a patient. You're just giving them this app, and they can talk to you like that.
Yeah, that's true.
So again, that's just another way we've found that. Again, we didn't really plan on that. We didn't plan to combine the two services. It just seems to have worked.
Yeah, and the physio industry, my last point on that is, there are physios up and down the country still handing out pieces. Physios are synonymous with pieces of paper.
Stick men.
Yeah, stick men.
Glute bridge.
Yeah. And genuinely, that is still happening. So that was, again, one of our drivers to be like, when we do start launching this to other physios is, again, if you do see a patient once a week, you can then still program them for the other 6 days a week, and it is much more about, right, you come see me on a Wednesday, what are you doing Thursday, Friday? I can program that you on the app.
And I can see if you've done it.
Yeah.
Because we get a nice little tick when they've done it, and we get a nice little cross when they haven't. So, we've got smiley faces, haven't we?
Something
we
like
opted for smiley faces. Kept the physio little health sheets going, didn't we?
Something important you talk about is the patient empowerment and educating them on their rehab process. Talk me through that and how you get them to sort of take control of what they're doing.
I think the first thing is, again, just empowering them on their condition. We've always done that, whether it's in person or whether it's digitally. So really educating. Again, there is a bit of a narrative in physio, whether rightly or wrongly. Physios will absolutely disagree with me on this, that you can either give too much or too little information to a patient. We've always opted for giving too much information. Then it's the patient's choice if then they want to use or do something with it. And then it is ultimately just how we guide them through that initial. Again, what we hear a lot is patients when they come to us, they don't really know how to get to point B from point A. So explaining that journey, that's how I tend to work, is right, we're here right now, but what does 6 or 12 weeks look like? What does that time frame look like, and how are we going to get there? Which it works really well.
It does. As the beauty of the product is, we can. I've got some patients that I will just program week by week. I've got some that want to see what the next 6 weeks are going to look like. So I inform them this might change, but here is a loose overview of where we're aiming for, and they can click of the button, they can see their next 6 weeks worth of programming. So what their expectations are at this week, at this point. And I think on the empowerment and what we can deliver to patients on a product like we've developed for a healthcare setting as opposed to True Coach or the online coaching method is we upload a lot of educational content. We upload PDF booklets on your injury that we've created from our background. We upload webinars and seminars that we've delivered to corporate health and wellbeing seminars on your injury. We can custom build questionnaires. So I've got a woman at the minute, and one of her goals is before the other people involved with her care will take something further, she has to be able to do a single leg press at 100%. So I can program a questionnaire that puts that on a graph for her to see. So at a snapshot, she presses a button and she can see, okay, well, I can leg press 60 kilos. So I'm at approximate mass. I'm at 80% of my goal, and that's there on a graph for her at the click of a button. So it's just these little additional PROMs, patient-reported outcome measures that we can deliver, which was that's ultimately one of the biggest difference between a physio product and a true coach product, is it's just a bit more tailored around health and the resource of physio, a recovering tissue, really.
Yeah.
Really good questioning. So although our app is very intuitive in terms of like patient recorded outcome measures, we haven't actually involved any AI processes in our app. However, we did start to look at that, when we were kind of remodeling our system. We did start to look at like the evidence around AI, and again,
bespoke to healthcare.
Yeah, bespoke to, and again, so in our industry, a lot of AI is actually like a decision tree. That is what it is. So like when we, let's get to the nitty gritty details of, there are some other products out there, physio-based products that are a little bit more corporate facing, that do have AI built into them, and credit to them, great products. I don't think the thing within, like Alex said earlier, I think the thing you can't get away from, particularly in healthcare at the minute, and it'll be really interesting to hear this talk. I'll definitely go and listen to it, is what the fitness industry is going to do about AI, because our experience has only ever been about a drop off in adherence rates when AI is brought in for healthcare. And a good friend of mine works for a psychology based technology business, and I think they did their own internal study, and again, I could be quoting the exact percentage wrong, but when you bring in an AI or kind of like that process, the uptake rate is about 7% at the minute. So it's actually really quite poor when you bring in AI in healthcare at this moment in time. What does the next 10 years look like? Will we start to, as an industry, and I put ourselves in that industry, will we start to trust the AI process a little bit more, or will it just absolutely, in this sector, will it absolutely flop, and will it just be that thing where we always have to rely on people? Is it just an industry where you can't use AI? And it would be fascinating. I'm not saying that in a biased or unbiased way, because I genuinely don't know. I think there are absolute advantages to having AI. Yeah. But it will be fascinating to see what other people are saying around. Yeah. Like, what have you asked this question to other people? Like, what are they saying?
Well, I mean, I had a good chat with Ian Mullane, who is like, to preview the talk, and I think a lot of it's down to kind of, I guess, outsourcing and delegating the bit so you can do your job better. Okay. I think that kind of feels like the narrative around it, rather than people being scared of losing their jobs, which is the go-to. He's like, there's definitely other jobs, like maths-based jobs, that he was like, I would definitely be worried. Or like jobs where you have to memorise things, like lawyers and things like that. It's like the bot can do it 50 times more accurately and quicker. Whereas like for you guys, it's like, if you can outsource the like you said, the initial onboarding, or giving or even the stats, and give you way more accurate data on the person. And then you can do the human bit far better, and you got more time. You're not sat in the back office going like typing in information and all that sort of stuff.
True. I think one area that I'm fascinated to see where it's going, like the recording of movements, things like that. Because again, if you look at the research, very hard to correlate a certain condition or a certain risk of injury or a certain hit just through having looked at movement like a lot of people moving patterns and that. Squash, we don't use them as much as, and again, it comes back to why the subjective part of assessment is so much more important, and learn more talking about their daily history, their weekly history, like how they respond to a painful area compared to just a series of movement. That will be interesting to see where people still push them, people still like them, so it will be interesting to see where that goes. Because I think people still using them, having success with them, because if that's getting to buy rehab, or they've been told that A plus B equals C, and if you move like this, you'll feel a bit better.
Yeah.
Rightly or wrongly, can be a buying tool for S&C, for physio, for anything really.
Sure,
Interesting.
Well, it will really be interesting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll make sure I go and watch it.
And it's that balance, but I guess between it makes things more scalable and affordable versus people still wanting that level of accountability and paying for that human connection, isn't it? Almost, yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess a question for you on the demographics and the quickest people to uptake on the digital. Is it much more those kind of more towards the everyday athlete kind of person that's already really bought into?
Yeah, I'd be wrong in saying it wasn't those sorts of individuals at this moment in time.
The
majority of it are kind of like, have a look at my client base, it's very much your amateur sports people who do have a gym membership that they aren't afraid and have maybe perhaps dabbled in a little bit of that online space already. They have kind of used an online coach. They're familiar with how that works. Although I do have a few other clients who are brand new to it and have thoroughly enjoyed, like Alex has said, they have been conventional patients and they've wanted that shift because they might be busy or, again, another
the cost saving as well.
Exactly.
And if you're not an athlete, it's like, why would I want to spend hundreds and hundreds on
this is it
physio? Whereas actually it makes it much more
affordable. And another feature of our app, which is slightly different to like the other kind of solution, fitness-based solutions on there, is you can see our available. So we've built in a calendar and integrated like video-based technology, so people can book a check-in directly on the app, see our calendars. So, and again, one of the feedbacks we've had is that they can change that as many times as they want. So it's like all they have to do is look at our availability, and it's almost re-engineering what is very much the old school model, as has been you phone up a physio clinic and say, right, what is can I book this appointment? It's very rigid. Whereas if you're a working professional,
meeting comes up, childcare,
you can change it at a click of a button, and it doesn't matter to us because we just that time's booked out for check-ins, and if someone doesn't check in or moves it, it's no time lost to us. So again, that's been really well received in terms of that kind of user flow. Is it kind of gives the responsibility and power back to the patient in terms of them rather than being kind of fixed on us, done it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that, because we get asked all the time about age and things, because when we first got into this journey, we thought the older population would struggle with things like this. But again, things like COVID really sped that up. People were forced to ring in their grandkids and stuff like that. And we forget how long technology's been around now. Like most people who were working in the 80s had some form of access to a computer, depending what industry they're in. So computers, am I right in saying?
Yeah, I was.
You laughed in my ear then.
No, I did. It was just.
Okay, do it on yourself, I'm man enough.
It was just that dial-up. It was what I was laughing about. What we grew up with, really.
Yeah, but it's been around. Like phones have developed so quick, and most people have access to some form of smartphone now, and they change every 2 years with the way that contracts are. So, that fear from people being scared of technology from an age point of view is getting less and less.
Can it anymore?
No. I mean, we think about some of the people we've both got on. We're both pushing about 40 odd online patients each now, and my age range, I think the youngest is 15, and the eldest, I wanted to take a guess, but it's in the 60s. Should remember top of my head, but yeah, it's in the 60s.
Yeah,
Nice.
similar, yeah.
Nice. And what are your thoughts on the state of the fitness industry overall?
I think it's in a very transitional period. I know we had a chat kind of off camera around how that looks. I think sticking purely to the fitness industry, I think a lot of the big commercial gyms had to do a big kind of, I think when CrossFit came along, they had to do a big remodel and a restructure around what that looks like. You know, I think the likes of PTs now kind of headed online and continuing to head online, and what they can do. You're seeing less and less PTs on the gym floor these days, certainly from what I've noticed in those commercial gym settings. And like, you know, the whole kind of, although social media has been fantastic in a lot of respects, it's
double-edged sword in it, social media.
Yeah,
so
because
much misinformation,
you know, if you're not educated, you know, it can take you aback a little bit. It must be incredibly, you know, difficult at times for the uneducated individuals to look at this. I mean,
we mean not uneducated in that space.
Yes, sorry, yes, yeah, just to clarify.
And what are your long-term goals for the platform? Where do you see it going?
So I think for us, obviously, we launched the product the back end of January, so we're very much keeping it as an exclusive product to the Flexhealth brand for now, kind of growing that exposure,
just learning it in and out really before.
You know, I think if we think about how we've learned from our mistakes, you know, particularly in digital, don't run before you can walk.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the adaptations we made to our products, which was very early, it was kind of second guessing what people wanted, whereas now we're getting that feedback about what actually people want. We can make those changes very, very quickly. So then when we then do decide to kind of use the platform to rival the likes of True Coach and be the product that physios use, you know, as a bespoke product for digital. That's very much the ambition, is to kind of be the soul and help, you know, alongside that, not just be that SaaS model, but train and educate other physios on, you know, we have a lot of physios now coming to us up and down across the world, actually, asking how we've done it.
Nice.
How have you gone online, you know, and it's not even just how do you grow and scale our business, it is just how does it work, you know, how does it work online. So being able to offer a product plus be able to offer that sort of like coaching side is kind of where we see there's a really nice niche, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've answered that quite well. Thank you. Not much to input for a change.
So ahead of your activation at PerformX, how can your product help gym owners or chains?
Yeah, so we've been actually speaking to a few gyms of you know, big and small sizes on what happens when their members become injured. What does that journey look like? A bit of a deep dive into how many cancellations they get per month, for example. I know each gym will be different, but you know, one of the things that could happen is a member could cancel a membership because they are injured, for example. So where we'd like to have these conversations with people who would want to at PerformX is around us helping those people.
Just reduce them cancellation rates, really.
Absolutely.
Like we said off air, the ironic thing is if you're injured and you've been going to a gym, you probably need the gym to be not injured. It's not a legitimate reason sometimes, I'll be careful what I say, but it's not always a legitimate reason or the right reason to make to cancel your gym membership just because you're injured. And that goes from a little bit of back pain to doing your ACL. If you've done your ACL, you definitely need a gym because you ain't returning to sport without it.
Yeah, it's like Ollie Patrick, on a previous conversation we had, he said gyms are often seen as a damage centre.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, like Matt said, we've had good conversations with a number of sort of corporate commercial gyms, just looking at how we can
embed ourselves.
Yeah, just integrate part of their membership process or just as an outreach, whether it's free content and webinars that we have just on the right or wrong way to lift, which we spoke about off air. there isn't no right or wrong way to lift. And just all the things that just educating PTs, gyms around what's right to do, what's wrong to do, giving PTs that are working in these spaces a handful of fundamental or core exercises. So someone's complaining of impingement or anterior shoulder pain. Well, here's 6 exercises, just try a handful of these with different load prescriptions and see how you get on, rather than sending your patient straight away to a physio for an assessment that's going to keep them and
you don't know what that message is going to be.
Yeah.
If they go see a physio that is a local based physio, you're kind of beholden to their experience level, their expertise, and if heaven forbid they say don't stop going to the gym, and they're not up to speed with current practices, then you as a PT, selfishly, you might lose that client. Whereas what we're trying to do is the complete opposite. Allow you to keep your client base, but let us empower you and almost be the manager's manager on how to.
Good phrase.
Thank you. On how to educate your patient groups, essentially, and that goes for a lot of these commercial gyms that might not have that. That provision, really.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of gyms, like we started in the gym. We started in the back of JD Gym in Hull. Just a little broom cupboard, didn't we? Just a bed and a desk.
Rags to riches.
Something like that. Honestly, we used to cram people into that room, didn't we? Little separated by screens and all sorts. NHS all in the back of JD Gym, but no, it was good. So like I'm saying,
we've seen it, haven't we?
Yeah, we've seen it.
We're part of that environment.
The people that tend to start in a commercial gym are fresh juniors just trying to make it in private practice, and so not always, but sometimes their experience or how they handle certain injuries may differ from someone who has a bit more experience.
Yeah,
sure. Not always the case. Some people have very good careers working out of commercial gyms as a physio. But yeah,
and even if they don't have that provision, right, PTs can still contact us or come speak to us.
Come speak to us, absolutely,
about how we can support them.
And anyone that's injured, if anyone's injured at the minute who are at PerformX, feel free to come and pick our brains for some free advice.
Yeah, brilliant. And final question for you: why do you think PerformX is unmissable if you're taking your career in the fitness industry seriously?
We'll find out. I suppose to answer you, I think a more honest answer from us would be one of the reasons that we'll be honest, it is our first time at PerformX. The reason that we're really excited about it is because it's how it's perceived, it's how it's looked. It's almost seen as the summit for health and all things kind of fitness and wellness, and just to be part of that kind of. I think that we want to be part of that. Of a group of people accelerating and growing the industry, don't we? I think there's some very exciting other brands there that we want to be involved with, and I think that's the attraction for us, and hopefully that's the attraction for other people coming to attend. The speakers, as an experienced physio myself, I'm very much looking forward to, and got an eye on some of the speakers that are already there, and equally the brands that are there are top of their game. So why wouldn't you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Just be part of it, be part of that collective of, like you said, we are trying to pioneer this online approach for physio. There are a lot of good physios out there delivering it and getting good results. We do feel we're one of the only ones with a product that we're delivering bespoke to physio, sports therapy, sports rehab, that health setting. And we just want to showcase that to everyone else that's killing it in their field, basically.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Nice one, lads.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Yeah,
mate. Yeah.